Hey guys, the Sloan Ranger here, Sloan's Wilderness Expeditions. Today I'm going on another bike adventure. I'm going to be doing the Panhandle Pathway. It is in Cass County, Indiana, or at least that's where it starts. I'm at the south end at the Kenneth Trailhead, which is close to France Park near Logansport, Indiana. And this rail trail goes nearly 22 miles from here at the south end all the way up to Winamac. So come along with me, let's see what it's all about. All right, I have backtracked about a mile to get to the absolute south tip here of the Panhandle Pathway so that I can do this full thing from the south tip, hopefully all the way up to the north tip. I should mention that I am riding my Lectric XPeak 2.0 today, e-bike. It has been quite the game changer in getting out and riding, especially on these longer paths. So in the meantime, as we get started here, here's a little more information on the Panhandle Pathway. The name Panhandle was the nickname for the Pennsylvania Railroad that ran from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to Chicago, Illinois. When the railroad connection was made in 1926 across the Ohio River at Steubenville, Ohio, crossing the Panhandle of West Virginia to Pittsburgh, the nickname Panhandle stuck and spread across the entire length of railroad. Sections of the railroad were abandoned in the 1970s, paving the way for this 22-mile section to be converted into a recreational trail from the Wabash Valley in the south to the Tippecanoe River in the north, while passing through Indiana farmland, shady wooded areas, and even a dedicated prairie preserve. That is one nice house right there. They've got their own lake, surrounded by some fall colors. I should mention that today is October 4th, 2025, and it is still 80 degrees, which is pretty unusual for this time of year here in northern Indiana. All right, back to the trailhead parking. You see, at least at this end, I've got it all to myself. Yeah, it doesn't get much more rural than this. Having a yield sign for field roads, you know you're out nowhere. All right, so road crossing, no hunting and no horses. This is a national recreational trail. It's like we're at Crooked Creek. Not sure if there's anything to see, but lots of fields and a tiny stream. Let's keep moving. Nothing coming. Kind of thought here on October 4th we'd see some more fall colors coming in, but I've been hearing that we may not get a lot of fall colors this year because it has been so dry. Mostly the leaves are just going to dry up, turn brown, and fall off instead of having our usual brilliant colors. Another one of those field paths. I'm gonna slow down for there. We're at about the 5-mile mark right now. So far it's just been smooth sailing. Seen a lot of birds, you know, some finches, some blue jays, and mostly the insects around here just kind of singing to me. Yep, out in the middle of nowhere. You know, at my last rail trail ride was on the Big 4 trail, riding from Colfax down to Lebanon. I know I'd mentioned in that video about it taking me back to a lot of my childhood memories, because we used to get out and walk railroad tracks all the time. Obviously, these would have been those kind of railroad tracks before they got turned into a rail trail. Hi there, buddy. Nice horse. Yeah, a couple of horses in there. It's always fun what these things bring you out to. We get across this road up here, 550 north. I'll continue my story. Looks like this is another trailhead right there. So anyway, oh, just hit 6 miles. 15 point, yeah, something. Anyway, so there were some old tracks, of course, crisscrossing the countryside where I grew up. I recall this one time that me, my older brother Jim, and our neighbor Rob had gone out hiking up one of the old tracks that, if I remember correctly, they were out of commission at that time, which were, of course, our favorite ones to get out and walk on. And we actually came across a spot right on the side of the tracks where there were some old tombstones. Now, I don't remember the actual tombstones being there, but the bases to them were. And there, of course, were a lot of sunken in spots in the ground from what were some obvious grave sites. Now, most likely, it was probably an old family plot cemetery from way back, probably early 1800s. And then when that railroad track came in there to be built, I'm guessing they just kind of pushed all the old tombstones off to the side as they built up the tracks, since nobody would have had any records at that time of who was buried there. It's just kind of fascinating, the history you're passing by on these trails and don't even realize it. All right, we're about 7 miles into our little ride. Coming up on the Royal Center trailhead right here. So if you live in Royal Center, this is probably where you'd be jumping on the trail. Royal Center is a really small town. Used to drive through it often when I lived up in Monticello. And I think that's one of my favorite parts of these rail trails, are seeing the small communities they all pass through. You know, this is small town America. This is real life here. And that's kind of what I grew up in. So it's always kind of fun just coming through and seeing the small towns the way the railroads would have seen it when they came through. As is often the case with these small towns that used to have railroads, there's always some kind of grain elevator type stuff in the area. That's what the trains came through for, probably. Now, it looks like this kind of avoids the downtown area, which obviously is for the best.
Sorry.
It's all good.
Check my shipping.
Must have some kind of storage unit here. There's some really nice boats. A couple of fishing boats, and one looks like it's darn near a yacht. And of course, really nice camper. This place must have a lot of memorabilia. Texaco signs, standard signs, champion signs. Some really cool stuff right here. Fascinating. Looks like this is State Route 16. If I was to take this far enough east, I'd darn near end up at my parents' house over in Wabash County. I think I just interrupted a bunch of killdeer. They tend to like to nest in gravel, though I would have thought this time of year would not be nesting time. So they might just be in the process of migrating or something. See, another one's gonna fly. All right, heading out of Royal Center, and now we're right beside the Highway 35. It's unfortunate, you know, I mean, it's to be expected because most of these railways often followed the roads, or vice versa, really, the roads followed the railways. So you'll get that. It looks like up ahead, we'll get back in the woods. Little Indian Creek. I like that they've got all the little creeks labeled. I'm not sure if they all really deserve a labeling. That's pretty much just a ditch. But it's still nice. You know where you're at. All right, pretty sure we've got at least one more small town to go through before we get to Winamac. I think we should be pretty close at this point to the halfway mark. I don't know if they'll have it marked or not. We'll see. All right. We're about the halfway point now, and we're entering Pulaski County. All right, we got Indian Creek here. Well, at least it's an actual creek. So, Indian Creek here. Once again, it's at basically a farm runoff ditch, but I can see some ducks out there. Welcome to Indiana. This is what we got, at least the northern half. We're now coming up on the small community of Thornhope. Ooh, smells like farm country too. Dang. Stinky. Ooh, there's got to be a pig farm here somewhere. Looks like we got a golf course here off to our left. Out in the middle of nowhere. Pretty sure in Indiana it's law that you can't be more than 5 miles away from a fertilizer company or some kind of farm equipment place. I do think this would probably be a much more interesting trail in the springtime. Probably maybe like late April or May. As you can see, the shoulders off to the side here are currently full of goldenrod as well as a lot of milkweed. So I can only imagine in the springtime what all colors will be popping up out of there at that time of year. And if we had a decent amount of rainfall, I think you'd be seeing a lot more fall colors through here too. Maybe I'm just here too soon. Maybe 2-3 weeks from now, we'll have a bunch of fall colors. Mud Creek. Does it live up to its name? Is it a true mud creek? Yeah. It is another farmer's ditch. It's pretty low right now, so I don't even think it qualifies for Mud Creek at the moment. Oh well. Let's keep going. I've got some nice houses out here. Invasive plant removal in progress. Now that is awesome, seeing that on a trail like this. Because, you know, usually these kind of trails get overtaken by honeysuckle and other invasives. And they're actively fighting that through here. It's awesome. Now, I believe, where are we at? Let's find out. Yeah, we are in Star City. I didn't think we were that close, but sure enough, we have arrived in Star City. All right, looks like we're crossing Main Street here in Star City. Six more miles to the north terminus. If I had more time, I would take a spin through these small towns. I always find them interesting. Riding your bike is a lot more personal than driving through. But I am on a time schedule, so if I want to do this whole trail and back, I need to keep moving. So it looks like this here is the Star City trailhead. Not too many people out on it today. I've encountered one single person on the trail, and that was inside the town of Royal Center. Out in the rural parts, nobody. That's a lot of grass to mow there, isn't it? I wonder if they actually do anything in it or if they just mow it. I'd turn that into a nice little prairie. I actually think I see somebody on a bike ahead of me. We might have one neighbor. Although this might still technically qualify for Star City area.
Total distance 16 miles. Total time 1 hour 17 minutes and 32 seconds. Split speed 10.1 miles per hour.
You can see in this field beside me how it's sunk in. And there is drain in the middle of that. And that's the way most of the fields here in northern Indiana are. They are drained because northern Indiana, especially northwest Indiana, was mostly wetlands at one time. It was considered kind of the Everglades of the North. But then when settlers started moving in, they started dredging and draining, rerouting a lot of waterways, draining water, wetlands, so that they could farm. So realistically, all this farmland we're riding through right now, once upon a time, it was probably more wetland than it was farmland. While Northwest Indiana was once known for its wetlands, it also had a network of prairies. 15% of Indiana was once prairie land, but today it is less than 1%. Much of what remains are old cemeteries and right-of-ways, such as along this very trail, where railroads were laid back in the 19th century. See, all this land here to my right, that is all native prairie type plantings. This would be awesome in the spring and summer. I'll have to remember that and come back. Narrow bridge over Mill Creek. I feel like this might be a real creek. Not just a farmer's ditch. Yeah, it's kind of nice. That's the beauty of Indiana right there. Let's keep moving. Now, this might be the first semi-tree tunnel we've had on this whole path. I always like that. We're still literally right beside the highway off to our right, but this here kind of makes you feel like you're not, you know? Till you get that opening. Oh, that's a big, nice place. All right. We're now approaching Winamac. It looks like I finally found some more bike riders. Hello. All right, Tippecanoe River. Now this is a spot worthy, I am sure. Let's pull off to the side here. Oh yeah, really like the old train trestle out there in the distance there. Real pretty area, you know. It's nice. This is the same river that goes down, feeds the lakes around Monticello, and goes down before it dumps into the Wabash River there at Prophetstown State Park. So there's our grain elevator coming into Winamac. You can't have a town inside of Indiana or in the Midwest anywhere really that doesn't have a grain elevator. Looks like we found the trailhead here in Winamac for the Panhandle Trail. Oh. Hello. Oh, about ran over a garter snake crossing the path. Sorry, little guy. Oh. This now says the Winamac Parkway. So I'm wondering if we have reached the end of the Panhandle Pathway. Got to be getting close. Well, that sign still says Panhandle Parkway down below, so I assumed it was. Kind of combined the two trails. Nice little picnic area with restrooms. They got a nice downtown here in Winamac. Got us an old caboose. All right, the mileage here has started counting upwards again, so we have passed what is technically the end of the Panhandle. But it does go for a little bit further. Why do you say we keep going until we find an end? If we don't find an end, that means I need to update my maps. I had heard you could ride your bikes almost all the way to Tippecanoe River State Park.
Total time 1 hour 49 minutes and 7 seconds. Split speed 10.3 miles per hour.
See, as you heard, we're at 22 miles right now. So counting this little extra Winamac Pathway section, it goes a little bit beyond what the original map says. But you know, eventually this will go a lot further. Probably not get done in my lifetime, but I hope they keep working at it. I think this is it, guys. We are at the northern terminus, the Panhandle Pathway. So that was 22.6 miles from the south end all the way here to the north end of the Panhandle Pathway. And we still have to do it all the way back. It took us about 1 hour and 52 minutes coming up. I'll probably kick up speed a bit going back, but what a ride, it's great. You know, I'm feeling a little bit hungry. I'm gonna have to take me a break. So I might find somewhere here in Winamac. Grab me something to eat.
A few moments later.
I've still got about 17 miles to go, I believe. So let's kick up the speed and get on down the road.
Total distance 27 miles. Total time 2 hours 23 minutes and 57 seconds. Split speed 15.1 miles per hour.
Back in Star City. And we're back in Thornhope. Back in Cass County. It looks like we've got a alpaca farm over here. Pretty sure those are alpacas and not llamas, but I could be wrong. It could be a llama farm for all I know. Still kind of cool. Something to see while out here riding the Panhandle. Ironically, one thing I have not really seen along the trail are cows. We're now back to Royal Center. I'm gonna cruise around this place here. It's got all these antique cars and such. Pretty cool stuff. Yeah. All right. Let's go. Back on the trail. Well, there you go, fellow expeditionists. That is the Panhandle Pathway. And all in all, I did about 44.5 miles. Took me about a little less than 3.5 hours, and that was including a break there in the middle. Great adventure. My only regret is not starting earlier in the day, just for some of the cooler temperatures, but also so I could have explored more. It would have been nice to take my time to cruise a little bit through the towns and such, maybe even check out some of the town parks. But, you know, I got to do what I got to do, and I'll be back here and do it again sometime, maybe next spring, we'll see. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it. Till next time, peace.